Hey everyone, I'm Will, welcome back to my channel. Before I get into today's video, I'd like to update you with some exciting news about a brand new project I'm launching with my friend Misha. Some of you will remember Misha from this interview that I conducted with him in Chinese last year about how he became fluent in Mandarin. And over the past year, we've been working together to run a series of live Mandarin masterclasses, teaching you how to overcome specific challenges on your journey to Mandarin fluency. These sessions have proved hugely popular, but we've also received a lot of messages from those of you who couldn't attend due to time differences and asked if we could create recordings of the masterclasses to complete at your own convenience. So that's exactly what we've done. We've been working around the clock to develop our new platform Peak Mandarin, where you can access our series of 5 step-by-step masterclasses teaching you all the techniques you need to smash your fluency goals. Each masterclass contains video, text and image presentations in English, along with native Chinese audio clips. We've got one on how to nail tones, another one on how to go about sentence mining, as well as a masterclass on how to train yourself to think like a native speaker. Plus, we've also created 2 new mini masterclasses teaching you how to make perfect Anki flashcards and how to overcome fossilized pronunciation mistakes. We're currently running a limited launch offer giving you 20% off when you buy all our Peak Mandarin Master Pack containing all 5 masterclasses. And if you're not satisfied with the purchase, we have a 60-day money-back guarantee on any of our Peak Mandarin products, so you can rest assured your purchase is completely risk-free. So if you're interested, head over to peakmandarin.com to get your masterclass or click the link in the description below. Okay, now let's move on to today's video. Multiple scientific studies of the human brain have shown that people who become fluent in a second language as adults literally rewire their brains in the process. And these brain changes are even more noticeable when you learn a language that's as different from your native tongue as Mandarin Chinese. A study reported in the BBC found that Mandarin speakers use both sides of their brains to understand Chinese, compared to English speakers who only need to use one side of their brains to comprehend English. So what exactly happens to your brain when you study Chinese? Well, in this video, I'll cover 6 ways in which you'll totally rewire your brain when you learn Mandarin. So without further ado, let's get stuck into number 1. You will learn to attach meaning to tones. Chinese is a tonal language, which means that each syllable has to be pronounced with a particular pitch contour, which affects the meaning of the word. Get the tone wrong and you'll have a different word from the one that you intended. This means our brains have to get used to analysing and processing the language in a completely different way from what we're originally used to. We have to master the art of listening out for subtle distinctions between the pitch contours of each tone and attach meaning to words based on which tones they were pronounced with at natural speed. This means learners who reach a high level of comprehension in Chinese have rewired their brains to learn an entirely new skill. Number 2, you'll learn to perceive characters. To read Chinese characters, you'll need to navigate an entirely new writing system with no connections to the alphabetic one which you likely grew up with. Each Chinese character carries both phonetic information telling us what it sounds like and a semantic component that tells us what it means. By contrast, each letter of the alphabet only carries information about the sounds and in itself doesn't tell you what it means. Now this refers back to the study I mentioned earlier, which revealed that when processing Chinese characters, we need to use more than one part of our brain simultaneously. We need to process what each character sounds like as well as what it means. Crack this and you'll have completely rewired your brain's ability to read and comprehend the written language. Point number 3, you'll learn to understand Chinese etiquette. One of the hardest parts of learning a foreign language is coping with an entirely new set of complex social rules and norms of politeness. This is especially the case when it comes to learning Chinese. Chinese culture tends to favour less direct forms of communication, particularly when it comes to expressing negative emotions towards people you're unfamiliar with. There's also a different set of expectations of how you're meant to engage in conversation. For example, when speaking English, it's generally accepted as normal and polite to stay silent and fairly motionless when listening to what someone else has to say. However, in Chinese, it's much more important to actively show that you're listening. For example, by nodding your head vigorously by saying dui 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 when another person is talking. To get to grips with all these complex and unwritten rules, you'll need to train your brain to pick up on subtle facial cues, body language and subtle changes in intonation, raising your emotional intelligence to new heights. Number 4, and my personal favourite, you'll learn to think in Chinese. All fluent Mandarin speakers have one thing in common: we've all trained ourselves to think in the language. This means that when we have conversations in Mandarin, fully formed phrases and sentences pop into our head at just the right time, enabling us to instantly say them out loud and engage in free-flowing, fluent conversations just as you do in your native language. This is a really crucial skill to develop because when you're chatting with native speakers, there's often no time to translate from your native language into Mandarin, and if you do so, it's going to seriously affect the quality of your interactions. So to become fluent in Chinese, you'll need to rewire your brain to produce natural Chinese sentences, structures, and produce them on autopilot. So how do you do this? Well, of course, we obviously go through this in a lot more detail in our Thinking in Chinese masterclass. You can check that out in the description below. Number 5, you'll become more rational. Now let me explain. As human beings, we often rely on emotion rather than logic to make decisions, but science shows learning a foreign language can actually help you become more rational and reduce your reliance on parts of the brain that process emotion. In one study at the University of Chicago, researchers demonstrated that when subjects were instructed to think through problems in a foreign language, the decision making became more logical than when they used their native language. Point number 6, you'll stave off cognitive decline. Now, like number 5, this one is not limited to Chinese and applies to learning languages in general. Multiple studies have shown that changes in the brain that take place when you learn a second language may actually stave off cognitive decline and diseases common in old age, such as Alzheimer's. Quite how this works isn't entirely understood, but scientists speculate it may be to do with a process known as neurogenesis, which basically involves the creation of new brain tissue, which could counteract the loss of brain tissue observed in aging and Alzheimer's. So that's it for this video on 6 ways you'll rewire your brain when you learn Chinese. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a comment below and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.